Good evening, everyone. Wherever you are listening from, welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Not the Perfect Crime. Before we begin, a very important warning. Today's episode is for adults only. If you have children with you, please do not listen to this episode while they're around. We're about to travel to a small town in northern France, a quiet place on the coast, where nobody could have imagined that. One December night, it would become the scene of a double murder, of almost unimaginable brutality. That night, we are in a small coastal town called Burke, looking out over the sea. It's the kind of place where everyone seems to know everyone else, where people recognize each other on the stairs, where you know who lives in which flat, who drinks too much, who argues too loudly, and who keeps to themselves. It is the night between the 23rd and 24th of December. Around midnight, the emergency services receive a call. Someone reports the beginning of a fire in an apartment building right in the town center. The firefighters rush to the scene. When they arrive, they see that the fire hasn't yet engulfed the building, but the stairwell is full of thick smoke. Breathing is difficult, and the residents have already gathered outside, in pajamas, in coats, frozen in place, staring at the dark windows of the building. The firefighters head inside, climb the stairs through the smoke, and quickly locate the source of the fire, one flat on the second floor. They force the door open and step in. The electricity has cut out, so there is no light, only the narrow cones of their flashlights. They move forward, room by room. What they're about to discover is not just a kitchen blackened by flames. It is a crime scene. In the kitchen, on the floor, they find the body of a woman. At first glance, she doesn't seem to have been burned. The fire has mostly licked the walls. It hasn't had time to consume the flat. But she is lying face down, pinned partly under a heavy piece of furniture, and her head is badly smashed. In another room, they discover a second body, a teenage girl, lying on the floor as well. Her face is covered in blood, her skull shattered. The scene is so violent that even seasoned rescue workers freeze for a moment, unable to process what they're seeing right away. One thing is immediately clear. These two victims did not die in the fire. They were killed. Then someone tried to start a fire, to destroy the evidence. From that moment on, the firefighters step back, and the police take over. Investigators arrive at the scene, and start examining every detail. First, they need to identify the victims. Downstairs, they ask the concierge, the neighbours. They read the names on the mailboxes. The name matching the flat on the second floor is soon found. Valerie T. and her daughter, Harmony. Valerie is 38 years old. Harmony is 17. They live there together, just the two of them, mother and daughter, in a modest apartment. The flat is officially declared a crime scene. Forensic technicians enter, photograph everything, mark every bloodstain, every possible trace, every object out of place. They first note where the fire started, near the front door, in the hallway. The fire was clearly lit there, most likely using some flammable liquid, in the hope that the whole apartment would catch fire, and the bodies would be destroyed. By following the blood trails, the investigators reconstruct the last moments of Valerie's life. She is in the kitchen, probably preparing something, when she is struck in the head with such force that her skull splits, and the wall behind her is sprayed with blood. Harmony, meanwhile, is found in another room. Her head is smashed. Her body bears multiple signs of blows. Later, the medical examiner will confirm that before they were killed, both mother and daughter were subjected to extreme sexual and physical violence. We will not go into graphic detail here, out of respect for them and for you as listeners. What we can say is this: a mother and her daughter were tortured and executed in their own home, and then someone tried to cover it up with fire. The first question that haunts the investigators is simple. How could something like this happen without the neighbors intervening? The police start going door to door. They knock on every apartment, speak to everyone who lives in the building. The answers are shocking in their own way. Almost everyone says the same thing that night. Nothing special. We heard some noise, like we always do. Footsteps, voices. But here, there's always noise. And that is exactly what worries the investigators. The killer, or killers, clearly knew the building very well. They knew that, among the daily chaos, one more argument, one more bang, wouldn't stand out. They were counting on the fact that in that building, noise is normal. Who could possibly have wanted Valerie and Harmony dead in such a way? The police start digging into their lives. Valerie is described as a single mother who raised her daughter on her own. She works at a maritime hospital in the area. In recent years, she has become more and more isolated. She has slipped into alcohol abuse and into heavy use of cannabis and other substances. Harmony, in contrast, is described by teachers and friends as a serious, bright girl, good at school, kind, and very close to her mother. Despite her young age, Harmony often plays the role of emotional support, trying to hold things together, in a home shaken by addiction and loneliness. Next, the investigators look at relationships. On Valerie's side, they find no stable romantic partner, no long-term boyfriend, no ex-husband in conflict, no obvious jealous lover. On Harmony's side, one name comes up, Anthony, a boy her age, with whom she had a romantic relationship that was on again, off again, sometimes good, sometimes tense. Witnesses report that an argument took place in front of the apartment door a few days before the killings. Anthony had come by, hoping to reconcile. Harmony refused. Voices were raised. Tears were shed. Logically, Anthony becomes the first suspect. He is brought in and questioned. The police ask, "Where were you on the night of the crime?" Between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., Anthony answers calmly. He says he was out with friends, at a bar, and he gives their names. He describes where they met, what they did. His friends confirm his story, and the distance between the bar and Valerie's apartment makes it very unlikely that he could have disappeared long enough to commit a double murder, start a fire, and return quietly to finish his evening. The investigation starts to drift away from Anthony. But during the interview, Anthony gives another name, that of an older man, Stefan. According to Anthony, Stefan is Valerie's dealer, the one who supplies her with cannabis and sometimes other drugs, delivering straight to her home. He knows Valerie, he knows Harmony, and neighbours have already seen him, coming and going from the building. The police check. Stefan exists. He's around 30, no major criminal record, but known for drug dealing. He lives with his partner Noemi and their child. He is summoned to the station, and the question is simple. Did you go to Valerie's flat? On the night of the 19th of December, Stefan Dosanti deny it. Yes, he says, he went there that day, but only in the early evening. According to him, he left between 6 and 7 p.m. Valerie and Harmony were fine, in good spirits, having a quiet evening. After that, he claims, he went home where Noemi was waiting. As always, the police verify everything. They interview Noemi. And there, a crack appears in his story. Noemi confirms that he went out that afternoon, that he told her he was going to help a friend with his car. She says he came back, but she is not sure about the time. She thinks he returned late, probably after midnight. She adds another detail that chills the investigators. When Stefan came back, he was clearly drunk, and the apartment smelled strongly of alcohol when he lay down to sleep. The police now know that Stefan lied about his timeline. They look more closely at his profile. He's a dealer, he drinks heavily, and according to several ex-girlfriends, he is very violent with women. Some of them say they have already ended up in the emergency room because of him, but never filed formal complaints, because they were afraid. Faced with these contradictions, the investigators put Stefan back in custody. This time, under pressure, he changes his version of the story, then changes it again. And again, he invents a tale about 3 unknown men, supposedly armed, who allegedly forced him to go back to Valerie's flat, to rob her, before they themselves killed mother and daughter, while he watched, powerless. He paints himself as a terrified witness, almost a victim, who fled to save his life. But the story just doesn't fit. No one has seen these three men. No one has heard gunshots. And the building is not soundproof. You can hear a cat jump in the stairwell. Meanwhile, forensic results come in. The DNA profile found on the bodies, and on certain objects in the flat, matches Stefan. His semen is found on the victims. His DNA is found on a piece of chewing gum, mixed with. At this point, there is no doubt left. Stefan was at the scene. He had direct contact with the victims, and this was not a simple, friendly visit. He is formally charged, placed in pretrial detention, and the long judicial process begins. For months, the investigating judge tries to reconstruct what happened. Several reenactments are held in the apartment, with Stefan, forensic experts, and police present. Every time, Stefan changes details. He adds a little here, removes a little there. He gives one version, then another. He talks, then falls silent, then claims he cannot remember. But the physical evidence doesn't move. In the end, the investigators assemble a coherent picture of what happened that night. Stefan goes to Valerie's place, as he has done many times before. He knows she is vulnerable, that she drinks, that she uses drugs, that she depends on him for her supply. At some point, an argument breaks out. The exact words, we will probably never know. But the testimonies sketch out a motive. Valerie and Harmony have been encouraging Noemi to leave Stefan to protect herself and her child, to get away from his violence. They have told her, one day, he's going to kill you. Take your son and go. For Stefan, this means that Valerie and Harmony are now a threat to his control, to his home, to his authority. Anger builds. He grabs a heavy object, probably a kind of hammer, and strikes. Valerie is hit first, in the kitchen. She tries to move, to escape, but a second blow finishes her. Harmony, hearing the noise, comes out of her room. She has no time to understand. She is struck too. What he does to her afterwards is so brutal that even experienced forensic doctors are shaken. Their reports describe extreme sexual and physical violence against both mother and daughter. Then, to try and cover his tracks, Stefan spreads a flammable liquid near the door, lights a fire, hoping the apartment will burn. The bodies will be destroyed and the evidence erased. But the fire doesn't spread the way he imagined. The firefighters arrive quickly, and instead of erasing his crime, he has simply added another charge. At trial, Stefan remains true to himself. He denies, contradicts himself, hides behind confusion, refuses to give a clear explanation. He never plainly says, yes, I did it. Here is why. But the jury doesn't just have his words. They have the DNA, the forensic findings, the repeated lies, the contradictions, and the profile of a man who is violent, jealous, controlling, and unable to bear anyone threatening his grip on others. He is eventually convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment, with a long minimum period, before any possibility of release. As for the motive, it appears clearly through the testimony of people who knew Valerie and Harmony. They had taken Noemi's side. They encouraged her to protect herself and her child, to leave this dangerous man. They stood up to him. They didn't stay silent. In his mind, they were interfering in his life, turning Noemi against him, pushing her to leave, to take his child away. Rather than change himself, rather than question his own behavior, Stefan chose the worst possible answer: revenge. Cowardly, monstrous, irreversible. He wiped out 2 lives, in an attempt to keep control over one. And in the end, he lost everything. That was the story of Valerie and Harmony. A mother and daughter trapped in the orbit of a violent man who refused to let go. Thank you for listening to this episode to the end. Take care of yourselves, and remember, behind every crime story, there are real lives, real voices that can no longer speak. See you soon for another episode.